the movie turned out great. I mean, you know, he's amazing. He's brilliant. I always believe in him. But watching the film, it added up to everything I hoped for. It made it feel worthwhile.
I had the privilege of working with Meryl Streep on a film called Prime. It's going to come out in America in October. She's a romantic comedy, and I had a great time working with her. She played my therapist. A lifelong dream to be counseled by your hero. And then after that, I went into doing The Producers with Matthew Broderick and Nathan Lane, which is a film version of Mel Brooks' play. So that was another great physical challenge for me. I got to do ballroom dancing and sort of showgirl dancing, and basically, I don't know, danced every day, 5 days a week for a few months. And it was the biggest small part I've done in a long time. So that'll come out on Christmas Day. So I'm very excited to have those projects come out, and once again, getting to do new things and work with wonderful people, and it's just a great experience.
Thank you so much, Minister of Culture, for this honor. I love this country. It has been a magical influence and residence of my life, both in the cinema, the gifts of its literature. I've had the honor to act out, and I could not possibly give back to France what it has already given to me as a creative person, as a human being, and I'm deeply honored and grateful. Thank you very much.
Well, I think that time is is the most precious commodity in the world, and certainly it is for me. Every moment, if I ever feel I'm wasting a moment, it's kind of become painful for me. Time with my family, time with my parents, my mother, my children, time with what I love to do creatively, time experiencing the world and meeting people. It's just, it's all so precious, and you know, I think that it's so hard watching it slip through your fingers so quickly, and I don't know, I wish I had more of it.
Baby came later, so it's one thing I might have a dash more knowledge on than him, but otherwise it's all his concoction. Thank you.
Fun, yeah. I mean, I knew it was going to be tough work because the director Michael Mann is known as being a taskmaster, but there's a lot of boys with toys stuff going on as well, the guns and the cars and the boats and all that kind of stuff, salsa dancing in Cuba, and yeah, it was fun. We got to see different places as well. We shot in Miami, and then I got to go to the Dominican Republic for a while, and Uruguay, and yeah, it wasn't too tough. I wrote a brilliant script, and John Crowley was amazing to work with, and I just got to work with a bunch of Irish actors and Scottish actors that were just incredible, so I was lucky to be there, you know.
And what do you think the appeal is this film?
The appeal is, it's a little bit different. I don't know, I mean, there's a lot of stories going on. I hope there's a lot of laughs in it, and there's that love story in there as well. I don't know, it should be a fun 2 hours. It should be an entertaining 2 hours in the cinema, you know. I play a character called a Hiff, who's just a complete scumbag, you know, petty criminal. Thinks thinks he's much smarter and much more devious than he actually is, and he's just a scumbag, really. You know, it's good fun.
What was the most challenging for you as far as the role?
Getting out of bed every morning. I was so tired. I just finished Arts War. I don't know. Just trying to keep up with these boys, you know. You would have had a very good time. You would have had a very good time. You might not have felt at your physical peak from moment to moment, but you would have had a very enjoyable time, yeah. Everyone worked hard and the boys could play as well, you know.
Now, is it hard work keeping up your bad boy image that you
I don't keep nothing up. Nothing up. I don't play to anything. No, I ain't no bad boy. I just have a laugh like anyone else.
And how's killing the baby? How's that going?
Gorgeous. He's divine.
You adapt him to fatherhood.
It doesn't take much adapting. You just love him and make sure, you know, you try and make his journey as safe as possible. Just love him. I think. I don't know. I know a lot of families who have been brought up in ideal situations and it didn't work out. This might not be on paper ideal, but just make sure he's loved. That's all. That's all it matters. Do I like him? I don't know, he doesn't have that much of a personality, but he looks fine. Any criticisms? I have to get my pen and paper out and think about it. That's strange. No, I put a call into him, but he never called me back. Jamie saw him at a restaurant in Los Angeles and he said, "You tell Colin Farrell when he's finished with my jockstrap, I want it back." He never called me. Oh yeah, you know, it's not like I'm the most bankable star in the world, and if that's what you want to call me a star, I just called myself one, I believe. But yeah, I mean, you know, I've been lucky enough to work for 5 or 6 years, but it's a huge role and a huge film, and there's no doubt Oliver put a lot of his trust in me, and for that I'd be ever grateful and thank him for it, and I hope I just pulled through for him, you know.
You know, in some parts of our business, I think we're falling short with good projects and certain things where maybe. But animation and the new films that have been coming out, like Shrek and Finding Nemo, they're great movies with great characters. So we're actually finding some of the better, I think, material.
Tao.
Fish for Town. I like that. I do. It's the kind of character probably if it was in a regular script, I'd never touch because I don't like to play those kind of women. And that they have no redeeming qualities or nothing that's really at the heart of them or nothing they're struggling with, or women who are bad to other women. I tend to not want to play them in real life. But for some reason, as a fish, it was okay. So I think, you know, we celebrities have a real responsibility to absolutely know what they're talking about, be committed, make it a part of their lives, and be in it for the long run, and not, you know, and take seriously their position on having a chance to speak and to do as much with it as they can. In the most beautiful way, it's you want to work in a better world, but also I have children and I want them to have this peace, and I want this, and children like them, I want to have the opportunity to have a day of peace, at least to have some help and some aid. asked to join one of these films because we know how good they are, and you know, we do it out of curiosity. But yeah, I've been waiting for him to see it, and the fact that now he's just shocked by it is. I'm waiting. It could take another year or two for him to completely comprehend, I think. I think he's great. I think he comes mainly just, you know, you can be as wild as you want to be in my book as long as you come from a good place and not have to hurt anybody. And he's that guy. So he can afford to be as crazy and as wild as he wants to be. I couldn't have played her if I wasn't a mother. I wouldn't have understood. You know, I read the script and I loved her because I thought if I lived at this time, I would protect my son this way. I would be this strong. And yeah, I never knew love until I had a kid in that way, and that intense passion.
Tell you what, I had fun on this movie every day, regardless of the pain, regardless of, you know, the MRIs and the scans and the cortisone injections and the physiotherapy, regardless of all of that stuff. Every single day on this movie, I was enjoying myself. I think that, you know, Braddock's legacy deserves the effort, and I think he as a man, you know, deserves the legacy. Beat to beat to beat of this story is fantastic. You couldn't make this up, you know, and it play out like this, you know. And the fact that it was real and it actually happened, this change of fortune had actually happened in somebody's life. These things to me made it, you know, very important to tell the story.
There's a lot of guys whose work that I admire, and you know, if it ever comes up, that they send me a script and I'll work with it. You know, but I don't seek out people that I want to work with in that sense. Pedro Almodovar would be one.
Yeah, I know. I had my sea legs before we started, thankfully, because I didn't think it'd be a good look if the captain was continuously throwing up in front of the men. But yeah, I did quite a few different little journeys on boats and stuff before we started shooting, and thankfully got over that.
I just had a great experience with a couple of the officers. Arrived and they rang me and I said, look, I'm going down to San Diego, you want to come along? They said, absolutely, sir. Straight off to the airport, you know. But it's great. I mean, we created such a bond on the ship, you know, that I think it's the sort of thing that'll last for a lifetime. You know?
A movie that you're going to be proud to show your children?
Well, yeah, you know. I don't even have one yet. It's coming in January, though, but yeah.
Well, the last year of my life's been pretty special. I've made 2 movies with my favourite director, Ridley Scott, and I welcomed the birth of my second son, Tennyson. So it's, that to me personally has been a very good year. The movie itself, even though it's sort of under the title of romantic comedy, because you have to, I suppose, choose a genre when you're marketing these things, I think it actually is a story of rediscovery and rejuvenation.
Came about 6 months before I met him, and just was a call that said he's making a remake of King Kong and he's interested in you. And I thought, well, that sounds interesting and great, but I'm sure he's got 12 other girls he's talking about as well. anyway, then I got a call to say, come meet, and I met him, and he and his wife, Fran Walsh and Philippa Boyens, the writing partners, and they talked about the movie, and you know, it just seemed like a great idea. Peter Jackson, the king of effects, and this lovely story that still stands up, even in the 1930s version where you don't buy those effects. I did some stunts. I had also a fantastic woman who helped me through all the extra difficult things, like backflips, and but that was probably the most difficult part of the filming, was just doing all the physical stuff. I'm not of such a great belt, but I'm proud of this film, and you know, it's a dark film, and but you know, hope prevails, and I hope audiences connect with it. Yes, I feel enormously privileged and lucky. You know, it was a great role, great script, great group of actors, extraordinary director. It was just like a whole blessed package. I haven't been married, and I haven't had children. I haven't gone through a divorce, so that was all, you know, something that was. But I understand marriage through the people around me, and you know, and children as well. But the one thing I was able to identify with was just the fact that this person's living in a place that she didn't grow up in, and because I've obviously moved around a lot. So that sense of fitting in, but not quite fitting in. I got to the set and I just felt these arms come around my waist. And I looked around and I was like, who's that? And it was Kate. I couldn't recognize it because of the wig. And I just felt so warm, and I felt that, you know, this is going to be okay. And sure enough, it was. Right from the get-go, we really created a nice bond. And we're friends now for probably forever.
For me, I found his speaking voice through his singing voice. You know, when I first approached character, I thought, you know, and I did like every kind of bad impersonation to begin with, you know, and I couldn't control my voice. I'd never kind of spoken so low, and he had a very specific rhythm and a way of talking. And I found that once I had gotten into the music, that I had kind of a greater understanding of who John was and how he spoke and just his demeanor. It's extraordinary that a movie that for the writer-director was 9 years in the making, that virtually every studio passed on until it found a home at Fox. And even then it was difficult to get made. For people to be having the reaction that they're having means that they are affected emotionally. And that's kind of the most that you can ask for from a film, in a sense. So it means a great deal that people are responding in the way that they are. For me, it was really the gateway into John was through his music, and that's really what we attacked first before we ever talked about character, because in some ways they were completely intertwined. You know, John's music was such an integral part of his life that you couldn't really, you know, at first I kind of thought of them as separate things, like I'll look at the music, and as I started kind of discovering the music and going through his lyrics and discussing what he was trying to convey through his music with T-Bone and with Jim, I started understanding more about John.
It's your instinct to get as far away as possible. But the training is obviously really important in helping you to control your fears. You don't ever get rid of your fear, but you control it. And something firefighters will tell you: if you're not scared, then get out of the job, because you're going to grow complacent and something's going to go wrong.
Well, it was very intimidating, but once we humanized John, it became conceivable, and that was kind of the first task as we started prepping for this, you know, is to get off the idea of thinking about him as a legend and an icon, see who was the man and how did he develop and how did he become the man. And, you know, everyone asks me that, and I keep saying I'm going to come up with one, but I can't. There's so many, you know, that are great. And then it's different between, like, you know, singing a song like Home of the Blues quietly and then performing Cocaine Blues, and it's loud and raucous, and you know there are so many different songs.